Hello, my name's Vic Gilgis, and it's nice to see you again. I hope this podcast helps you in some shape or form as regards your well-being, happiness, etc. What I want to talk about today is something that started, because today's Wednesday, something that happened on Monday. Just by accident, I happened to end up going to a meeting. And it was one of those type of things where the person in charge said, let's go around the table and see how we are, introduce ourselves, etc., etc. And so we all did that. And the thing was, it just got progressively worse and worse, because somebody started off by saying, oh, my sister's done this to me, and I'm upset, and this, that, and t'other. And then somebody else said, was crying because they thought the cat was dying. And then somebody else took over and started to say how, many cats they'd had that died. And, before long, the whole thing ended up, with a moggy cemetery and siblings. And I've been through all that. Because I love cats. I've had cats. They've all got run over, most of them, and they're all in a cat cemetery somewhere now. And what I'm saying, getting round to saying, is that all this kind of contributed to everybody's mood just being lowered. And the reason it's lowered is that instead of talking about something else that is more uplifting, people just talked about what got them down, what had upset them, what was stopping them in their tracks right now. And one or two of them were really in a bad way. You could tell that they were carrying their angst and worries. It was shown on their faces, the strain and the stress of all this stuff that's going on in their head. Now, we all get that, get like that. We all get where we start going on about the bad stuff, the not nice stuff and what have you. But we have options, because it was demonstrated to me at that meeting that what people could just not see was that they were up in their head, getting themselves more and more upset with life and their particular part in it, and how awkward and not very nice and dull and hurtful life was. Instead of, it can go the other way. I mean, we have a choice, and one of them is, yes, we do that. I do that. We all do that. But the alternative is to kind of go around, those sessions and say, well, this thing and that thing is nice, and that has happened to me today or last week and what have you. In fact, when it came to my turn to talk, I was determined not to be negative. I was determined to try and bring some happiness, some levity into the room. And what I did say was, and I got, basically, I got I upset other people, because what they were saying was, don't try and make me happy. That was the message. Don't want to be happy. And what I said was that, amongst other things, in trying to lift the mood, and this just come to me, is that quite a few years ago now, I used to do hypnotherapy. And there was one chap I mentioned, and this was by means of trying to help them, is that he was, the most miserable man that you would ever see. And, I've seen a few people in my life. I'm not a youngster. And he would win the cup for being moribund, miserable, upset, stressed out and what have you. And so I used to basically put this guy in a trance, tell him everything in the world was wonderful and that he was wonderful, life was wonderful, and send him off on his merry way. And it actually worked. It did work. Not with everybody, but it worked in that instance. And so, but he used to come back again and again, completely fed up and miserable, depressed, and go all over the same process. And he said to me, I am all the time depressed, Vic, all the time. And then one night by accident, I was in a pub with my wife, and we came across him, and he was with two other people. And he was laughing away, and he hadn't seen me. And it was a bit rude of me, really, because what I did was I walked across to his table. There he was with his two friends, laughing and joking, and it just come naturally for me to say this, and rather rudely, I suppose, was, look, there you are, Paul, you can be happy. Look at you, you're happy. And, it was almost as if I'd caught him with his hand in the till. He looked embarrassed. Well, he was embarrassed because I'd just done this rude interruption. But I know behind it all that what he was saying was, oh, you caught me off guard here. Yes, I am being happy. And yes, I do try to tell you that I'm always unhappy. And that is the point I was trying to make to the group, is that we're not continually unhappy. We do have moments and spells of joyfulness and laughingness. So, that's one thing to look at it, is that life is like that. And that when you're on the down, it will pass, and that you do get back onto the up. And that was it. We have it within us. And that's very important to know, that we have it within us to be happy. And this is what I pointed out to Paul later on, of course, and I apologise for my rudeness there, was that he was capable of being happy, and he knew it. And in other words, my take on that is that once you've got your foot in the door of a brighter life, you can open that door because you've proved to yourself that you can do that. So, what happened at that particular meeting is that after I told that story, a young woman, well, maybe not so young, but Kathy, she said to me, oh, it's all right, Vic, but you say you can choose. I'd said something about you can choose to to not dwell on unhappy thoughts. And she says, I can't choose to do that. It just stays with me. It's all right for you. No, I'm like this, and what have you. And I said something back to her which I think was unintelligible to it. As soon as it had come out of my mouth, I thought, you've said it all the wrong way. And I think I said something like, yes, but the difference is that there is a misunderstanding, that you don't, I know it's terrible what I said, if you understood how the mind works, how we tick, then you would understand that you don't have to be like that, that whatever is going on in your mind is not the real you. And I think at that stage, both of us, our eyes glazed over, and I didn't make my point properly. So it didn't quite get home. But I tried my best, and, kind of came away thinking, well, you should have, as we always do, I coulda, woulda, shoulda, said it and done it differently and better and all the rest of it. But there you go. But what I did do was, I thought, I'd like to do a podcast on this, but, is that the best I've got to say, like what I've just said? Because it doesn't really cut it at the moment. It tries a bit, I hope, to help. But, I'd like to think of better things, something better to say. And now... At that moment in time, I didn't have anything better because I did. I sat down with a pen and pencil, a pen and paper, and tried to jot some stuff down. But it really didn't come. In fact, my mind was on the kind of tack, and I might have even said this at the meeting, that the trouble is we have an abstract overlay, which is our thoughts, an overlay which is always there sometimes. And it's that, I'm depressed, I think life is terrible. That overlay that is there, and that overlay, that abstract overlay, because it's abstract, because it's in our mind, obscures us being in real life. And it does. Give you an example of this, that when I was writing and publishing my stuff, it would go to be proofread back into the computer somewhere, and this machine would proofread it, and it came back with an error. And it kept saying this particular error, and I just did not understand what they meant. And so I had to ring, a person up and say, look, why is my book, being blocked on the editing side? And he said, I can see what you're doing straight away. He said, you've got an overlay across your text on your pages. And I said, I don't know what you mean. He says, the overlay is you've got a slight purple tint colour over your A4 text. And I thought, oh, crikey, I know what I've done. Back in the day when Wayne Dyer was talking, Wayne Dyer said that he wrote to be creative with a purple pen. So what I thought I'd do to help me, and it didn't. And again, it's all in the mind. I coloured my page in a slight purple colour. And then I'd forgotten that I'd done that, and that was the overlay that was stopping my printing being seen. And that's what I mean by an overlay, is that we have an overlay in life that can sometimes go across everything. That is, it's not a get out of jail free card, it's to stay in jail and be miserable and fill your boots with misery card. Whereas the opposite is if you're going to have an overlay, have a more joyful overlay. In other words, if you're going to go into the memory banks, let's go into, I'm talking about dead moggies all over the place. I've had loads of them, but I tried to look at the cherished times with them instead of going to meetings and talking about how they died and why they died and they shouldn't have died. But there you are. We're human. Now then. So what did I do? I jogged those notes down and thought, well, they're totally inadequate, but there again. So I went to bed. And here it comes. I woke up this morning, and the first thing that popped into my head was that kind of last night or yesterday's thoughts on, I want to say something better. Yeah, I remembered that. Oh, crikey. And with my next thought was nearly, well, you haven't got any ideas. But then what just occurred to me was traffic lights. Tell them the way of traffic lights. That's your way to explain it. And I knew straight away that I'd got the answer to be able to say it, I hope, in a better way to help you with your well-being or happiness. Now, that was that. It was just all in that one idea, traffic lights. Now, before I go into the detail of all this, and I had to go into the detail quickly, I had to get a pad and a pencil, a pen, and write what I meant, what it's meant. And I didn't really what it meant then. It was just traffic lights. Stop, go. Don't stop, but go. And in ways that we stop ourselves, and in ways that we could move forward. That was it. And now then, the point I'm making here is that there is always something there that is within you that has got the answers, and it comes to you. And it came to me, and it doesn't always, but I'm lucky, and we all are in that sense when we know that we're lucky because we have faith that it'll happen. I wasn't even thinking about waking up. I was thinking yesterday of coming up with some better answers, and maybe that was on my mind in the sleep. Something must have happened. I don't know because I don't remember dreaming anything, and because I sleep well. But that was it, traffic lights. Anyway, so I wrote it all down, and this is, let me have a look at my notes here. And I suppose this is trying to explain the title of this podcast, which is a question: can you move on? It's like Bob the Builder. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Yes, we can move on. Now then, can we, it's about staying put or moving on. The choice is ours. And so let me have a go on my notes, because about what I mean, but some examples of this traffic light system. So it's either green for go or red for stop. So it's green, go, red, stop. Now then, so in real life, my notes in, there's different categories I came up with here is would you rather be up in your head about life, or the real life that is right in front of you when you open your eyes? So there is a difference. What do you want to be, up in your head or actually in life? Yes or no? Because we have a choice. We don't have to be up in our head, because real life is not up in your head. So that's traffic light number 1. Yes or no? Traffic light number 2 is about the something behind us that we've got with life. You have always moved forward to be who you are today. Now, what I mean by that is, all of us have got to our age. We have not been defeated. We're here. Life, like in 2025, in the month of May. And what's today's date? The 7th of May. We are today with the world. We are the latest expression of it. And it's because we're here. And no matter all our kind of downfalls or things that have blocked us, things that have stopped us, our upsetness, our joyfulness, our goods and bads, but we're still here. So something has conspired together to help us be here. Because we have always moved forward to be here, to be who you are today. So can you say, or do you say, no, we should have stopped? Or I'm saying, no, well, life just moves us forward. Life always gives us that green light. Next light, and this is to do with that pole that I mentioned. You will be happy in future time. Now, yes or no? I think I proved it to Paul that, in the future, from seeing me and saying, oh, I'm miserable, everything's horrible, I don't like life, that in the future there was a time when he was happy, and he proved that to himself. And we always can prove it to ourselves. We cannot. The human system is not capable of being continuously bloody miserable. At some time or another, our thoughts change to different thoughts, and they can be better thoughts. And how can I put it? If you soak yourself more, when I say soak, if you get in front of you, if you read, if you listen to things that are more positive and enlightening, mind, body, spirit stuff, these type of videos, these type of books, the right type of music, the right type of people, then you basically become happier, because that becomes more your state of mind, instead of having a state of mind that is dwelling on the on lack and defeatism and us and themism and whatever you want to call it. So that's another traffic light. Do you want, yes or no? You're going to be happy in the future? Well, the answer is yes. And more happy if you keep thinking that that's the case, because it proves itself to be true. So this next traffic light is to do with that Kathy in the class. Your thoughts have always been positive to negative, negative to positive. Will they change in the future too? Well, it's similar to the last one. Yes or no? Do you go forward with that? Do they change? Or red? Do they not change? Well, it's not red, because the green is there. Your thoughts always change. They change less. You remain stuck at red if you want to dwell on them and stay there and stay stuck. Obviously, that's the case. But if you want to move forward, the lights soon change. And if you forget about thinking about stuff, before you know it, you're on to a next thought anyway. And that's the thing about it. When you don't dwell on particular thoughts, the lights change. The new thoughts come through. In other words, when you don't block the flow of life, block the river that you stood in, then the river flows better, and you too with it. Here's another traffic light. And as I say, you can imagine, when I woke up this morning, all this stuff is pouring out of my head because I'd put my mind to it. And the mind works in those mysterious ways. There is something behind it all, which is not what I would call your personal thought system. There is a kind of a more helpful system that comes into place when you're not kind of dwelling on a particular thing and open yourself out to other things. Because if you're dwelling on just being stuck there at the red lights, then you remain stuck, and there's people blaring the horns at you, and it's horrible being there, etc., etc. So next traffic light, and this is a can or can't. Is feeling broken the truth, or are you really okay? Yeah, well, is it the truth? People say I'm broken. I've said to myself sometimes, I'm a broken man, but I'm not really. I'm here, and we move on. We are not broken because there's something behind everything that keeps us. That's what I said. All these years, from birth to now, we've managed somehow to cope. We are here, and we can move forward. So, can you or can't you? Well, you can, because you've got it within you to do so. Next traffic light, and we're getting near the end of them now, because you must be sick of traffic lights. Next to last, stay or go this traffic light. If broken, do you want to stay like it, or see what could happen differently? Well, of course the answer is yes. I want the green light to come. We don't want to stay broken. We want to see, because that is the nature of us. Life wants us to do that, to move on. And no, we don't want to stay broken. Obviously, we want to move forward. So oh God, I've got some more traffic lights. I've got 3. I'm sorry. I'm going on and on now. This is about life's flow. Is it ever nice to stay put? Yes or no? Well, whether we like it or not, life moves on. And so the good things come to an end, the bad things come to an end. But the joy in that is that the bad things do come to an end. So just remember that. And there is also a chance that some new good things are going to happen. But if we think they're not going to come to an end and get stuck, they'll keep there. Next to the last one. It's about life. You have it in you. Now, what do I mean by that? Does something always happen to move you on? It does. And we never know what that's going to be, but there is something that always has our back. I call it divine intervention. It's always there. Divine intelligence, universal intelligence. It's God. I don't understand it, but it's got your back. It's got your back to help you move on. Last one. If you can't move on and think all is lost, does your life go on, and can something be okay? If you can't move on and think all is lost, does your life go on, and can something be okay? Well, life does go on, whether we like it or not. What I mean by that is that sometimes when we think we're back on our backsides in the ring and cannot move, in other words, life is so desolate and so, kind of, you give up. What I'm saying is that at that moment in time when you have lost everything, there is something that comes upon you. I've said this before. It's like that butterfly that descends upon you. It's grace. There is something that pulls you through. There is something that lets you see light at the end of the tunnel, and that light actually is inside of yourself. It's God, it's divine. It's always got your back. And basically, again, we could go traffic lights forever. Do you believe grace sometimes comes to help you? Well, I do, because it does. And it has. We've done that with all of us if we look back. I'm going on a bit here. Do we at all times, do we at times suffer? Yes or no? Stop or go? Well, of course. The human condition, and nobody is exempt from this. From paupers to kings, everybody has the capacity. Look at the first podcast I made. Everybody, through their thought system, has the capacity to be able to think negative, and that is the gift we've been given, and positive. Well, I know which side I want to do. Obviously, I want to stay on the positive side, but I know quite well that when life seems desolate to me and terrible to me, that is a signal that I'm in my head and into my ego, that I can move towards grace. I can move towards the opposite of that, which is out of my head, which is before thought, which can help me. That is the beauty of life, that we've been given this capacity to do that. I'm sorry, I mean, continuing with these... Yeah, I'm going on. Is there something in us that wants us to keep going? Yes or no, stop or go? Well, I think the answer's obvious there. And then the last one. Would my wife like me to stay in grief? Well, I lost my wife, and I told her this before. And no, she would not. She would not want me to remain stuck at those traffic lights. She would want me to get on with life, to zoom forward and enjoy life, of course she would, because she loved me. And so we've got to move forward. Now, sorry about all that, because I've really gone on. And so I will finish here with this and say, going back to that overlay, if the overlay in our mind, it is an abstraction. It is what is there, overlaying everything, but it's not reality. And when we have got that abstraction, which is our thoughts, it is not life. That is our thoughts. When we remove that overlay, when we get out of that abstract, and it's like the Matrix, when we see that we're in the Matrix, but the Matrix isn't real, that we can stand back from that and get on with life. And that is where the adventure is. Life is an adventure. When you move forward, always something different happens. There is always something there to grasp at which is better, to look at which is better, to talk to listen to taste, to enjoy, to see, to feel. And we do less and less of that when we're stuck up in our head, when we've got this abstraction with all this lot going on. It doesn't have to go on. We can be okay because we are okay, because that's what's got our back. So I've gone on a bit today. Thank you very much for listening. I've really enjoyed talking to you. Traffic lights. I've gone a bit loopy today, I suppose. So I'll see you next time, I hope. Take care. Thank you.